And we are live. Hey there, Hobby Warriors. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you for stopping by the channel. For today, I'm going to be continuing to work on my Gallowdark terrain for Warhammer 40k for the boarding action style games. Excuse me. So the last time I was working on this on stream, I was getting everything clipped off the sprues, building what needed to be built, and getting it ready for base coating, which I did with, God, what do you call them? Spray cans. So for the initial steps, I was largely following some of the advice that was given by Guerrilla Miniature Games, Ash Barker. So I started working with these Rust-Oleum spray paints, and I was pretty happy with how they turned out. So what I did first was base coated everything with this claret wine color. It's kind of like a really, really deep reddish brown. Very good for a base for rust, which is what I wanted. And then I did a zenithal coat with this Rust-Oleum fossil satin. So it's a very similar tone to Rakarth Flesh from Citadel. And so doing this with a zenithal and from a spray can, I didn't want perfect coverage. I actually wanted it to be a little bit spotty as the paint got lower on the miniature, so that there was already some weathering applied to the figures. So as you can see sort of on this piece, let's get it close to the camera, you can tell like right there, there's some fading into that rust color. Let's see. Also sort of like inside here, it's kind of speckled a little bit, and you can see that down in this region as well. And so that's going to be the start of my weathering once I get to that step. But before we can get there, what we're going to need to do is a whole lot of dry brushing to get our initial highlights in there. So for that, I'm going to use the Citadel dry paint. There's some of my favorite paints to dry brush with. It's almost foolproof. It's got a really thick, dehydrated consistency. So once you get that on your brush, get it off. I'm trying out using cardboard as a palette for this. Normally, I would just go straight to the pot and sort of get the excess paint off on a sheet of paper towel. But I picked up watching a Guerrilla Miniatures video that Ash was using cardboard. And I'm only really familiar with using cardboard for oil paints. So I figured I'd give that a shot today, see how that works out. And now for my dry brushing, I picked up these really cheap, large hog's hair brushes. Now, normally for a figure, like an infantryman, if I was going to do any dry brushing, I'd do it with a makeup brush. But because we're working with terrain and we want to do this as quickly as possible and I needed something big, these were kind of cheap and they've got a little bit of stiffness to them. So I figured they'd be really, really good at hitting those hard edges. So we're going to experiment today and see how that all works out. Alright, the other nice thing with these dry paints, you don't need to shake them. So let's just go ahead and get started here and get this open. Now that's interesting. The one side of this paint pot is sort of stuck, so it doesn't want to open on the clippers. Yep, that's just gonna be a pain. And so for anyone wondering, this brush is a 1/2 inch, which is still large enough for you to kind of work with your terrain, but it's not so big that you can't get it into a Citadel paint pot. So we're going to go ahead, work this into the bristles. I want to get most of it off. There we go, that should be good. And so I'm going to go up and down. I want to make sure I hit all of the rivets and exposed edges. And so the reason that I'm doing this now is because I can paint over this for any colors that need to still be base coated. Any items that need to be base coated still, rather. And so doing this now, I'm then going to chip everything afterwards, and then start working on the rest of my base coats. And so I don't know if the camera will pick this up using white light overhead, but it's just catching on all of those hard edges and adding some definition to the miniature. And you gotta flip it over and get the other side. Actually need a little bit more paint. Took too much off. Yeah, there we go. And I'm not too worried about going too heavy here. We're going to go and do a lot of weathering that's going to tone this down. And also having some larger splotches will sort of add to the chipping and scratching effect that we're going for. So get in there and get that door. Now, one of the joys of living in San Jose is that I do not have a ton of room. So even though I had set out to base coat everything all at once, I actually did not have enough room to spray everything and have it sit. So I'm going to have to do everything in 2 batches. So the first batch I'll probably do on camera, step by step for what I can. And then the second batch I'll probably finish up in a weekend, just off camera and get everything ready. Now, I don't know how many people were taking a look at the GW releases coming up from the LVO information dump that they had this past weekend. But I was actually surprised that Arx Roman Angeron was coming out so quickly. You know, hot on the heels of the first book. But it looks like they're going to have some cool new features for boarding action, which I'm looking forward to. I still haven't gotten in a game of it because I'm still working on the terrain, but I'm pretty excited. Given that the future Kill Team releases, especially the one with the RBTs, has more kill team, or I'm sorry, Gallowdark elements, new scenery and everything. I'm really hoping that they leave this boarding action mode as part of the main 40k game system going forward. I just, being older, you don't always have time to, get in a full, 2,000, 3,000 point game of Warhammer 40k. I know for me, because, I'm not really a, tournament style competitive player. I play for the, social aspect a lot of time. And, it can take me a good 3 hours or so to get through, 2,000 point game. Because, you spend time talking to friends and catching up with people and so forth. So I really like the idea of having a smaller skirmish style format, especially since it's kind of pared down. You don't really need, all of the books and stratagems and all that nonsense. You can kind of honestly use Wahapedia to have your basic, unit rules, or if you subscribe to the Warhammer app, you can use that and, just run the game off of your phone, which is pretty sweet. Speaking of the Warhammer app, I am a little disappointed that they don't have the boarding patrol detachment available in the army builder, so you can't, as of this moment, build a boarding patrol for boarding action games. They do, however, have the supplement rules, so all your missions and everything are in there, but you can't use the the army builder, which is a little bit of a disappointment. That's still a little wet. After doing a couple of these with this cardboard, I will say I do like it. It's a lot firmer than paper towel, obviously. So you don't have to worry about it getting soggy and ripped and everything. So shout out to Ash. That was a super awesome suggestion. While I'm doing this piece, the screens sort of reminded me. I have a plan for those where 40k people might not be used to seeing them, but if you've ever worked with Gunpla, the Gunpla water slide transfers a lot of times will have these sort of decals that have like warning messages, danger messages, and everything. So I'm actually going to use those on the screens to actually, show text. And I just thought it would be a really cool little feature to add in there. So I'm actually really jazzed to get to that. I love working with decals. They just add so much flavor to your minis. I'm hoping that this pot of Brixetti White will actually last me through the whole project. We'll see. The other nice thing about doing the terrain in this sort of bone color is it means I don't have to apply additional base coats to everything. So like doing this, the spray base coats and the dry brushing that I'm doing now, like all of the skulls will be good to go. I'll be able to, just use contrast paints on quite a lot of things and use that transparency to my advantage. So I can really focus on the weathering that's going to really make this pop and look really, really cool. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. Little hot tip, if anybody at home is thinking about working on this terrain set, or honestly any terrain set, because terrain is so important for miniature war games, but a lot of times it's the last thing that people kind of think about getting done. Everybody's so focused on getting their armies painted, but that's a really quick cheat that you can get your terrain done really, really fast, and focus on painting and playing what you want. I am personally all about saving time. A lot of my hobby videos over on my YouTube channel, which, while I'm saying that, everyone should go subscribe to my YouTube channel at JTS Wargaming, and also my Instagram, same at JTS Wargaming. But in a lot of my hobby tutorials over there, it's all about speed and efficiency and how you can get the most bang for your buck, so to speak, using really simple techniques and products to save you time but still get a really awesome paint job at the end, where you can show it off to your friends, feel good. So I will say I do like these hog's hair brushes. They do not hold as much paint as what I'm used to with the synthetics, so I find myself having to go into the pot a little bit more often than I'm used to. However, though, I'm wondering if that's the brush, or if it's actually me using this cardboard palette that's sort of the cause of that. But that's a small price to pay for having a large brush that has good coverage area. Yeah, I think that one looks good. Sorry, this glare from my overhead light takes a second for the camera to focus, and it's not quite showing up as well as I'd like. But just trust me, it's hitting all the edges. So, for today, I'm going to be hitting all of these long wall sections with the dry brushing, and then I'm also, when I was spraying, I'll open up the door and show you guys. I wanted to leave the inside of the doorway that dark red color, and some of the cream overspray got in there, so I still have to touch that up. But what ended up happening was the hinges on the doors on the inside didn't get any of that cream color. So after I'm done with dry brushing, I'm going to go back in with Rekarth Flesh and just do that with a brush. But then after that, which won't be happening on camera, I still don't have a good way to film me airbrushing. I have to figure out some kind of like overhead rig or something, and actually I have a different airbrush setup than what I have back in St. Louis, so an overhead rig won't actually help me, but I need to figure out some sort of way to film my airbrushing sessions, and I haven't quite figured that out yet. So if anybody has any suggestions, you can go ahead and let me know. I did acquire a GoPro over the holidays, which I have this little attachment gizmo where I can like wear the GoPro on my forehead. But what I found out, so I tried to film a video of me actually base coating these with the spray cans, and what I found out was that instead of focusing on the subject with my head, I was focusing just with my eyes, so I ended up recording the skyline instead of recording me painting the miniatures. So I don't really have the time to sort of practice and get that right. So I don't know. We'll figure out something. Alright, so this panel is actually a really good example of where we were kind of heavy with that dry brushing, but that's okay. When we go back in and we start weathering this, that's just an area where you could focus on your weathering to break that up, and that'll still end up looking really, really good once we're done. Also, just FYI, I did a little bit of a new configuration with the camera setup and everything, so I'm hoping I'm personally staying more in frame of the camera. Previously, I had it off-centered and angled, and I was finding that every time I'd sort of put my head down and start working, you know, I wasn't staying in shot. But now it's more central, so let me know down in the chat or in the comments once this hits YouTube how the new setup was working. Oh, got that solid. I have to figure out a way to store this stuff permanently once it's all painted. Ash had a really good solution for one set. He found some sort of a storage box at, I believe he said Walmart. And I'm gonna have to see if I can find that or find something else to work as storage for these. A little bit more. Yeah, I don't know if one pot's gonna last the whole project. I'm maybe about a third of the way through what I need to dry brush here. And then I still have all of the short walls that will need to be dry brushed in this color. I don't know if it's going to make it. Oh, and I still have the corner pieces too. I forgot about those behind me. So another thing, I've been working on a lot of Warhammer projects recently. So around Christmas time, I was working on some Raven Guard um, Primaris stuff using the old Shadow Spear box set to do some Phobos Raven Guard, which will probably be one of my boarding action forces, since it's mostly infantry. But once I get through, getting this terrain and getting a couple of boarding action armies together, probably actually going to switch it up and start painting some Heavy Gear Blitz minis that I've been sitting on forever. So when New Coalition, first got released for Heavy Gear Blitz, that's when I bought into the game. And I got everything assembled, but unfortunately, I couldn't get anybody in my local area at the time to play. And if anybody doesn't know, it's if you are a fan of mecha and like Gundam and Macross and things like that, and you love tabletop wargaming, you need to give Heavy Gear Blitz a look. So my first sort of exposure to their universe, and it's made by a small Canadian company called DreamPod 9, and they've been around forever. Originally, it was a role-playing game, I believe, maybe 80s, early 90s, and my first exposure to it was Heavy Gear 2, the PC game, which was like a mech simulator. It was the first family computer that my parents had ever bought, and it was in the software package that came with it. And I played that game so much; it was freaking awesome. And then I hadn't heard anything else about it, because at that point I didn't even know that tabletop miniature wargaming was really a thing. I hadn't had any exposure with tabletop RPGs at that point either. So there were no more video games, which I was sad, because the game was awesome, especially if you were into mech simulators like Mech Warrior. But then I want to say it was maybe, I don't know, 2010, 2011. I was hanging out, at my local gaming store, and I've been miniature wargaming for, roughly a decade at that point. And like I said, it was about when New Coal got added as a new faction in the game, and my local game store had added the line to the product lines that they were carrying. And I saw the minis, and I was just like, I just need this faction. So I went ahead, got the starter box, got a couple of extra minis, put them together, and then nobody ever wanted to play it, so I never got around to painting it. But I think I'm gonna circle back to those and get them done just for a little personal project. I've also since, so they've run multiple successful Kickstarters for the game to get plastic starter armies, because a lot of the minis, even to this day, are done in metal outside of the starter army minis. But I supported, actually all of their Heavy Gear Kickstarters. They have another game called Jovian Wars, which is like a fleet scale, sort of mecha starship game, which I'm not really into fleet scale stuff. But all of the Heavy Gear Kickstarters, except one. I didn't do the Utopia one. But so I've got minis for, God, 5 forces right now. Like I could do like complete whole armies, but the only thing assembled right now is the new coal stuff. So I'm gonna get that painted. Probably do my Peace River minis. After that, and do a couple of Let's Play style videos or whatever. Maybe see if there's some people in the local area that I can convince. I honestly think the only thing holding that company back is just marketing. Because I mean, there are tons of mecha nuts out there. I mean, there's how many Twitch channels and YouTube channels where people are building Gunpla kits. You know what I mean? Now imagine if you had tiny Gunpla and you could play a game. Not to mention BattleTech, the miniatures game, exploding right now. And this would honestly be BattleTech's #1 competitor if people knew about it. And it's just one of those things, like, maybe it's more popular in Canada. I don't know, I'm in the US. But it's one of those things here where, if you know about it, you know about it. And if you don't, you don't. And all the people that know about it are unfortunately scattered all over the place. So if you're in their, like, official Discord or in their forums and whatnot, there's tons of people in the US that have it, but a lot of them will have the same story as me where they bought in, they have a couple factions or whatever, but their local market is just super saturated. They just can't find people willing to take the plunge. And again, I think the big reason is just the lack of marketing. Catalyst Games Lab, the people who are doing BattleTech, like they did a really good job with their marketing and everything, and making sure people knew about the game. And even though they had tons of production delays and issues and everything, like BattleTech is soaring. So I mean, there's definitely a market for it for heavy gear. They just, I don't know. And I get it, it's a small operation. Like when the pandemic had first hit, and actually through the entirety of the pandemic, like the owner of the company was personally driving US orders across the border to ship them via USPS because they couldn't get international service, and then willing to put up with it every single time he cross the border and come back. He had to go into, I think it's like a 2-week quarantine. So for the entirety of the pandemic, this man who super dedicated, like what CEO is going to personally drive orders across the border for his international customers? I can't see Big Brother Workshop or companies like Hasbro doing that. But yeah, super dedicated, but I just feel like they are probably stretched thin just doing their basic day-to-day operations, being a small company. But it's a shame. It's a really awesome game. The rules are actually free, so if you're interested, check them out. You can get them on DriveThruRPG. Oh, hey, Corpse Arch, how you doing? Will say I love that handle. It's hilarious. But yeah, that'll probably be my next project after this. I don't know. I might get sidetracked by Marvel Crisis Protocol. That's another one that I bought into pretty heavy and haven't gotten around to. Oh wow, man, that's dedication right there. Yeah, thankfully the CEO at my day job just found out I existed 2 weeks ago. So, well, yeah, 93. I could see him not wanting to do it himself. I don't blame him for that. A little more over here. So, Corpse Arch, you working on any projects yourself? Nice. What you working on, man? Oh, wow. That sounds cool. Oh, damn. So I'm assuming you like worked for a museum or something, or doing some other kind of curation. Oh, nice. Oh, that's pretty cool. So now here's my question. So if you work with art, for your day job, do you ever get burnt out, doing it for a hobby as well, or do you just live and breathe painting all day? Yeah, I kind of figured. So I'm in software engineering, and my fiance is always telling me, "Hey, you should make this app. You should make this program or whatever." And like after 8 to 10 hours of coding, I don't want to see an IDE until I go to sleep and wake up the next day. Oh wow, that's the ticket, man. If you find a way to make money doing what you love doing, can't hate on that. Yeah, I hear that. I'm glad you're doing better though. That would be kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, the job I had prior to my current job, I had to yell at people at universities, but none of them were my direct reports, so they just got to ignore me. So I'm assuming, due to your handle, you play 40k. What armies do you play? Oh, nice. Yeah, that was when I got into doing Horus Heresy 1.0. I started out with knights, and then slowly built up some Mechanicum, but I still have my knight collection I'll pull out every now and again. Now, do you play Loyalist or Traitor? Nice, nice. Yeah, that's one of the exactly. And 30k. I always, I'll play Switch if we're doing a narrative campaign because it's easy with Mechanicum. But I always tell people I'm loyal to whoever is stationed up in orbit above whatever Mechanicum world my Forge world's supposed to be. Man, I don't think I've ever done this much dry brushing in one sitting. Like, there are muscles in my forearms that I never knew existed. Yeah, go for it. Huh. Interesting. A little kid in me wants to go test that out. But then I'd have like a however many gallon jug of house paint that I'll probably never use. Yeah, I think that was actually fairly recent. I actually still remember seeing those notifications like within the past week or so. Oh, cool. Now, I do have to ask, are you in the Bay Area in California by chance? I just moved out here myself and ended up meeting a ton of new people through the local 40k community. Okay. And I haven't like paired everybody's names to their online handles yet. Gotcha. It's kind of crazy how that works out, because it's kind of the same thing with scale modelers and hobby modelers. I learned a lot of painting tips and tricks and whatnot from watching scale modeling videos. Oh, sweet. Yeah, like oils and enamels, like for years, scale modelers have literally been using them for decades. Ah, now that actually makes me remember when I first started sort of publicly, doing my hobby. I had created a Reddit thread. Um, I had painted, it was an infinity figure for, oh god, what was the name of the game? Oh wow, it is totally eluding me. But their first Kickstarter for their like board game version of the game, and I painted the Eugene guy, and he had yellow armor, which yellow for me was always sort of a pain in the ass to deal with, and this was sort of my first time in a very long time just giving it a go, after years of practice and improvement and seeing what came out of it. So I made a Reddit thread just asking people's ooh, now that I am interested in. If you could pop those in the chat, I would definitely look those up. But yeah, so made this thread, and most of the feedback was, generally, positive, as I would have normally expected. People being encouraging, and even if they had critical, remarks, they would make them respectfully, which was totally cool. And then there was this one guy from the UK who just responded, and just a complete ass. But yeah, you get those bad apples everywhere. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check those out. So while I've actually got you here, it's not often. Oh, let's see. Oh my god. Oh lord, that's hilarious. Yeah, I love the internet tryhards. Jesus. Mods drunk with power. But no, a question I do want to ask you and kind of get your professional opinion on, if you don't mind. Whenever I go to eventually seal this, is there something that you would recommend? Given that it's terrain, it's going to get knocked around, generally get abused. Is there a specific type of sealant that you would recommend that would be somewhat hard wearing? Okay. Oh, cool, cool. I will have to get some of that then. Yeah, and I mean, think about it, that kind of makes sense. If it'll keep a car from getting, nicks and scratches. Ah, interesting. Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. And also, when you kind of step back and think about it, kind of makes sense. And there's probably no good way to shake a pot of paint on camera. I'm probably gonna have to get one of those little desktop vortex mixers. Oh yeah? What ends up happening? Hmm. Oh, interesting. Hmm. Gotcha. And I will say I've been enjoying working on this project, but I will be so happy when it's over and done with. Like, there's a big difference between, like, working on a single building or something, but, like, trying to do all of these walls. Are you adulting or buying minis? Ah. Oh, wow. Oh, snap. I just realized my chat box widget is not widgeting. Interesting. I'll have to figure that out. Oh, it's the rock bar. That's interesting. Oh well, when I weather that, it'll be fun. Alright, I think that will do it. Alright, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream for the night. I got done everything I wanted to